Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving. And I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a T-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like,
he's up there slapping it, pissing all over everything.
Is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's right. I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors.
Yeah, would have thought you had that going an hour ago.
I know.
For the 100th podcast, I thought you would have figured this out by now.
Nope. Still questioning everything. That's what I'm doing. Welcome to episode 100. We made it. We're a century old.
That's the
Who would have thought?
that's the first culture of the day. That tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I just cracked my first one. Drinking a Breckenridge Hop Peak IPA.
I was trying to sober up a little bit, but that's not really happening. So figured I'd have one.
What are you having?
Truly hard seltzer tea.
What in the hell happened to Dan Zaylor?
Oh, they're good. They're refreshing.
They are good and refreshing. Remember that time? Well, we don't remember much of that time. Remember that time when we got real drunk on seltzers, Danny? Remember that?
Okay.
I got white girl wasted at the Bills game.
Yeah, I remember that.
Have you jumped on the bandwagon yet since then? Is that the last time you've had one?
That's the last time I had one. When I look at them, I feel sick. All right. If everybody hasn't figured out already, it's myself, Billy, Big Jim, and Danny Boy. We figured we're all busier than busier can get right now, and finding time and having the energy at night at 8:30 or later to try to get everybody on for a podcast is a bit of a challenge. So we figured we'd just get the three of us on here. I invited Dad too, so if he's available to hop on for a few minutes and chat with us, he can. But really just wanted to have just a BS sesh. Just pretty excited that we've hit 100 episodes. It's been a fun almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August. We've been doing the podcast. So it's seems like just yesterday we were getting started and didn't know how to run the Zoom equipment and how to do this and that. And we're still learning. We're still figuring it out, but it's been a fun ride.
Well, Zoom wasn't even a thing when we started this.
No. No, that was a year ago we started doing this. And quite frankly, if we weren't doing the Zoom,
I don't know how you would have kept it going.
No. Well, would have figured out a way, but in order to do the podcast right now with the stage that all three of us are in, really all of us in our entire friend group are in, we're all so busy with kids and life. And that's been a transition for you in the last year, Jim.
Yeah, wait till Danny Boy figures that out.
Yeah. Yeah, you're busy now, Danny. Wait until 2 months from now.
I always laughed it off and said, yeah, right. And it's true.
It's coming. I'm waiting for it. But for the time being, I'm just going to keep telling you guys I'm busy because I am busy as hell. So,
Well, you are.
Well,
Tending them chickens.
yeah, I know. How'd that go?
It was fun. I'll tell you what, Billy was not afraid of the chickens. Like, he was right in the pen, chasing them around. And is it all right that we were feeding them goldfish? Is that okay?
They're still alive, so
Yeah.
I tried feeding
That's
our
all that
neighbor's
matters.
chickens rice one time, and that didn't work. So
No. because you were
Why-
trying to kill them, right? That was
Yeah.
the purpose.
That was
of
a wise tale. That does not work.
No, or at least it didn't work on those chickens. So, Danny, are you from that video I posted the other day? So, that one that I thought was the rooster is not the rooster?
Yeah, that brown one's a hen. They're all hens.
They're all
there's
hens.
Eight hens, yeah.
All right.
I mean, is that the way they identify or what?
Yeah, are you gender neutral over there? Is that how you operate your household?
No. They are what they are.
So, okay. I'm a man of the science. How do you create an egg without a pecker?
I think, well, one, you're being a man of science. Chickens aren't mammals. So like that's part of it. They don't breed like we do necessarily.
So are you doing the like who's
No, I don't know. Listen, I have no idea.
What do you mean? You've been a chicken farmer for a year and you don't know how your chickens are making eggs, which then will make a baby?
Yeah, in 4 months they just start laying eggs. And they keep laying eggs. That's how chickens go.
I thought they needed a rooster to breed them. Is this news to me, or am I not understanding the way that?
This sounds like an entire another podcast.
Yeah, I think
I'm just saying. People told me that's how it works, and that's how it works.
Okay, I am so confused. This is fine.
Apparently, chickens, per Google, whatever Google doesn't lie. They produce infertile eggs without a rooster.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. So those eggs would never hatch into anything because there's no rooster.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, bingo.
Did you just Google that?
Yeah. I didn't have any idea what that was.
Yeah.
So if a rooster did get with a hen and they laid eggs, would you be able to eat those eggs or no?
Yeah, I think because they're not, this is not, and I know they have to be incubated, so they have to be sat on and kept warm. So once they're not warm anymore, they die, or whatever. The egg dies and can't hatch anymore.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
No, this is great. I really do. And I'll tell you, all those eggs, we got almost 2 dozen eggs from this week, and there was a bunch left in there, right? When I went up Friday, there was a pile of them, but I was in a hurry to get back to mom and dad, so I didn't have time.
I was questioning when I got home if you ever took any eggs out of the hen house, because there was like 16 or 18 eggs that I pulled when we got home.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, holy
yeah, that was there. We took just shy of 2 dozen eggs. I think we took like 20 eggs in the week, and there was still a shitload left. That's awesome. I had
another 4 this morning.
Never a fan of the idea of having chickens, but knowing now that they can produce without somebody jumping on them and putting the juice in there, that's a reproducing. That's good stuff, Danny. You got a
nice shed in the back, Billy? Just a couple boards, a little fencing.
Yeah, all the stuff that's in there is garbage anyway. I might as well just let them use that as habitat and just fence it off. And Bill Dan could be the next big chicken farmer of Wyoming County.
You probably didn't have to add any food or water into their pen while you were there either, did you?
No.
Yeah, whole week. They could have just sat there by themselves for a week and they would have been fine.
Interesting.
Sounds easier to just go over to your house and get the eggs.
Yeah, I'll just come over every few days. You can't possibly eat that many eggs in 1 week.
You're not wrong.
I'll buy you 1 bag of food a month, and then I can have all the eggs in the world. That sounds like a fair deal, right?
I'll take that.
Yeah. So how was your trip to Florida?
It was good.
Give us the details. It seemed like you were very active.
What do you mean by active?
It seems like every day you were in the same general area on the beach drinking some sort of alcohol.
Yeah, that was great. Land of the free, home of the brave down there right now. That was pretty
different.
Different is the word. Man, no masks anywhere really. If you wanted to wear them, you can wear them. If you didn't want to, you didn't have to. But yeah, spent a week basically on the beach for the most part. We got super burnt the first day, so then I rented an umbrella and sat under that on the beach for the rest of the week, and it was fantastic.
Where were you?
Siesta Key.
Is that on the Gulf?
Yeah. So yeah.
How is the water warm down there right now, or is it that stays
Yeah,
fairly warm?
It was like perfect. It was whatever, cold enough to cool you down if it was warm. If it was a little chillier day, you probably wouldn't really want to go in. But
yeah,
we had pretty good weather for the most part, so
nice.
It was good. Little baby moon action.
Little baby moon. She's doing what? 2.5 months. She's doing August.
August, yeah.
Oh yeah, so you still got little. You can still, All right, that's all I needed.
Yeah, that chuckle gives it away.
Yeah, there was a rooster in the hen house. You know what I'm saying?
Now you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
It's a podcast. Nobody can see what you just did with your hand.
No, I am streaming this live on Facebook, but that's all right.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that without telling you. How was your hunt this morning, Jim?
I was pretty good on roost. There probably 3 of them were going on the east side of that woods, and then they dropped down and got quiet, and there was some hen chatter back there. I think they just worked off to the south. We waited till like 6:30, 7 o'clock and snuck back there and got in the middle of the woods and gave a call, and the hen piped up and one gobble to the south of us. So we went back across the gully and further south trying to catch up to them, and we saw a hen, but we never saw any of the gobblers. So I don't know if they were just tied down or what, but that bird that we were on yesterday morning, I don't think he was there today. I think him and those other hens didn't return back last night. So I don't really think we spooked them yesterday, but I think they knew something wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
I think if we did yesterday what we did this morning, I think that bird would have been a dead bird.
Did you set up right along the edge of the field and didn't put any decoys out? Is that what you did?
Yeah, we went 3/4 of the way towards the corner that we were in, and we set up and just didn't call. We just sat there, and I think if we'd have done that yesterday, he'd have been right there like he normally was with the hens strutting.
Yeah.
But I think we just threw a curveball into their normal routine and messed it all up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's funny because, you watch all these hunting videos and all this stuff where guys just run in, throw up decoys, call, and birds come running and they shoot them. And it's like, no matter what I've done over the last few years, if you get in the middle of their normal routine, it just turns them off. So,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't go aggressive yesterday morning. We went, I threw out some clucks with the easy clucker box call. Just real soft when we heard the first roost gobbles. We had that Avian X quarter strut Jake over the down hen in the corner of the field. And as those birds were gobbling further to the east, I grabbed the box call because I figured they were on the ground. I figured I'd give them just a little bit louder of a tone. Hopefully they'd hear us and come on over. And little did we know there was a gobbler in a tree about 80 yards away that we never knew was there. And he sounded off as soon as I hit that box call. I think we all had the oh shit moment.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, probably from, that was 5:50, probably until I would say 7, I left him pretty much alone. I was trying to let him he knew something was there, and he flew down shortly after that and kept right on gobbling.
He flew down around just about 6 o'clock was about when he flew down.
I think he gobbled like 3-4 times in the tree.
But he flew away from us. He flew down.
Well, I think he was on that ridge
when he was roosted. Yeah. You saw him fly down, right?
Yeah, I think he just dropped right down onto that ridge and then just started strutting back and forth and gobbling. And he had to have been able to see the decoys from where he was. Because when I went out to pick the decoys up, I looked over to where he was strutting and it was wide open. So He should have been able to see him, but we had a hen come in from our north, and as soon as she hit the field and saw a decoy, she putted and flew off. And I thought that was game over, but he kept gobbling. He stayed there and kept gobbling, and I could see him strutting back and forth. But we pretty much left him alone, trying to let him come across just out of curiosity. And then once I realized that wasn't going to happen, we kind of picked up on the calling, and he was very responsive. But probably, I don't know what time was that, 7:30 or so. He kind of just 7:30, 8 o'clock. He came out of full strut and he just walked west, and I let him go because I thought maybe he was coming, because there's a trail that comes down that ridge that he's on where he was heading. I thought maybe he'd go down that trail and come up our ridge and pop out in the corner of the field. So I gave it 15 minutes or so, and I thought I heard him walking over the edge of me, and I think I did, but I think he went across the bottom and then up on the other side hill across that gully, because the next time I called, he was up on the other hill, and he just responded over and over and over again over there, but he was not coming back. So,
yeah. And it makes me wonder. I was thinking about that hunt this morning, and I just wonder, like, if we'd be better off in a lot of those situations, like not getting super set up on a field edge right off the bat, and like just either setting up in the woods or just being somewhere where you don't believe the birds roosted, but near where they have been, just to like see where they are and listen prior to, like, I know that it's very effective to do that, like we did that morning where you set everything up and then the birds fly down and it just happens. But I wonder how it would be different if we would have known that bird was there, and then like had a high ground on him and had him want to get to us. Cause it seemed to me yesterday that bird, he wanted, when he was gobbling and when he was strutting, he was on high ground. He was not doing any of that when he was down in any of those creeks or anything. So I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I wonder if you approach situations a little bit differently.
It's a weird topography in there too, because there's a bunch of different, there's a gully and then there's a drainage. And he was across the drainage from us and then went across the gully on us. But it's hard to get a bird to cross that, because that was a steep drainage and a pretty deep creek that runs through it. And that's why I thought when he headed back west, he was coming to us. But the thing that I keep going back to in like the last 3-4 years, I always do this. I always get in there and start calling, but I always have the birds scouted out too. Like I know where they are, what they're doing. That's why we went there. And every year I end up spending most of the season either trying to call them in or whatnot. But then by the end, I end up just being in the right spot at the right time. And I told Chris that this morning. I was like, every year I do this, you get fired up because they're gobbling and you start calling, but it's like, I study these birds enough to know, like I was in that corner for a reason. That bird was there the last 3 mornings.
Yeah.
And I think for sure, if we had just got in there and set up where I'd been seeing them strutting, they would have done their thing. They would have walked right out in front of us. So I think that's where I'm at with it. Obviously we threw a curveball in there. We weren't their normal flock, and they knew something wasn't right and they wanted us to come to them. So
yeah. And you think about it, like we were calling for, I mean, after a certain period of time, they're going to just realize that they're not moving.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can understand why they didn't make a move, because we're just stationary and they're moving about the day through the woods and we're just still in the same spot, And
that's why I played it quiet for so long. I mean, but that's on the flip side. I'm like, should have I just hammered him off a roost and made him think that I was the lead hen in the area? Is that where I'm screwing up? Am I being too soft on roost? Should I just let him eat? I don't know if we'd have pretty much sat there and claimed dominance if he would have been like, oh, there she is, and flew over. I don't know.
Yeah. The only way to know is to actually try it. So
yeah,
that's the thing. Like every time you go out, and I haven't hunted with you in a long time. Like you and I haven't turkey hunted together in quite a while. So I just enjoyed sitting back behind you and Chris and Alyssa, just sitting back and just kind of taking it in and just seeing how you were approaching that.
I tried to approach it in the sense of he knows we're here now. I'm gonna leave the ball in his court, and then after I left it in his court long enough and we could tell he wasn't coming, I was like, well, might as well try the other way now.
Yeah.
And just one of those things, how long do you wait?
Yeah. And for, being the youth hunt, especially, half the excitement of turkey hunting is just hearing the gobbling. So in order to, Alyssa, I think, had a weekend, especially yesterday morning, that she'll never forget that. That's granted the fact she didn't get to shoot it, but everything that went down, that deer or those deer that came across in front of us that were like 10 yards in front of you, the three of you guys are standing there, like that was cool. Like I'm sure she'll remember that in the long term. Like that was a cool hunting experience for her.
Yeah, I think I could tell in her too that she was more into it yesterday. By the time we weren't calling and the birds weren't talking.
Yeah.
It just turns into the second morning of being up at 4:00 in the morning and now you're tired and the birds aren't talking, and we covered a lot of ground. We probably covered better part of 1.5 miles, 2 miles.
Oh, you did walk a bunch today?
Yeah, because we're like, well, they're not talking and they obviously moved on us, so let's go find them. And I think we ended up chasing them right south and we never spooked them, but never also caught up to them. So
yeah. Well, that's good. So what are you planning on getting out and turkey hunting a little bit, Danny?
Yeah, I don't know, because opening day is Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get me super jacked up to be out there with everybody and their brother on opening day. I don't know. Just I know people are going to be hunting down where me and my dad went last year. So I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I think we might end up just going down there Saturday where we got into some birds at Dustin's place.
Mm-hmm.
I just know we're on kind of a corner of like 4 lots down there, and it doesn't really get me jacked up to be like right in the middle of a bunch of people trying to do the same thing that you're doing. So
right. I'm a little concerned about that on opening day too. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the spots that we want to be. And normally when you got to take a day off to do it, a lot of people don't do it. So
yeah,
the spots that I would normally hunt on opening day, kind of wondering if I ought to be going back over to where we just did the youth hunt, because nobody else will be there because it's all private.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can get up early and go. It's 2 miles from the house. I can go hunt for 3 or 4 hours like I did last year, and go log on for work during the day. So, and for me, I'm planning on getting out mornings during the week, probably more than anything, just to stay away from people and when they're not pressured, and I don't know, maybe go try and go head south.
I've really
sometime.
I've found in like the last 3 years probably that if you can really hone in on like the last 2 weeks of season, pressure dies off, weather gets nicer, hens are sitting on nest, and that just leaves basically bachelor groups of gobblers just looking for it.
Yeah, and I've never really hunted the end of the season. I've been out a couple times, but I almost always am just that first weekend or two. I get out a couple times, and then the romance of it is kind of gone, and I start focusing on other things. But yeah, I think having the little ones definitely changes the game. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe some more on the weekends, maybe some more like mid-morning hunts when Kate's napping. I can sneak away for a couple hours and go hunt from, 9 to 11 or something, just to get out and kick around. But like, we're only seeing a couple, really only for sure one confirmed longbeard over at the farm here. So, like none of us are really that excited about going over there. It's just like, if you go back and listen to our podcast from last year, it's the same exact discussion. We were talking last year about not wanting to shoot the only longbeard on the farm, and we've again have just one longbeard on the farm. As far as what the cameras are showing us, there could be one that's just not walking in front of the camera, but I don't know. I think it goes back to what me, you, and Howie were talking about yesterday, Jim. Turkey hunting to me is not about killing the bird. It's about getting out there for a few mornings in May when it's just fantastic weather and you're out there and watch the sunrise and hear everything wake up. Like that's the adventure for me of turkey season. If I can shoot one, that's great, but I'm not hung up on notching my tag. I know you love shooting them, but to me, that's not what it's all about.
I'm kind of to the point where I'd really like to see some people shoot some that haven't shot them before. Like we got Jonesy starting this year. Howlett, I mean, he's had a ton of action and he's missed one, but I would almost rather see them shoot the bird at this point. I got a video camera set up this year. I just soon go videotape it. And, a lot of what me and Howie do is, go over, we're in the woods by 5 o'clock and we're out of the woods by almost 7, and he's to work and I'm to work. So those mornings are fun. I mean, you're getting up anyways. You might as well go sit in the woods for an hour and see if you make it happen.
Yeah. Well, it'll be an interesting season. I think we've had that little cold snap here this last week, and hopefully that's the last of it, and get into some nice weather here in May. It looks like it's supposed to be fairly warm this week and a little wet, but warm going into the weekend, and should be a good opening day. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a pretty good crew at camp Friday night too, which we haven't. Deer season was so foobarred that it sounds like I got the green light yesterday when Sarah and I talked about it, about me going up and spending the night at camp. So it'd be fun to get everybody together up there. We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether I'll hunt. I might hunt our property opening day. I might just go hunt the base of the South Hill or something. I think the only bird I ever shot on our property was a Jake I shot over at the base of South Hill by Adam's stand right by the upper Logan Road. So I might have to go over there and give it a shot.
Yeah. I don't know where we're all going. I know where I want to go, but
yeah, I might start the day there. And if nothing's happening, I might jump in the truck and run over to the public that been hunting a lot down the road, and
I found
give that a shot.
I found a spot that butts up to one of the Finger Lakes land trusts that I got in on last year. When I went in to pull my camera, there was tons of turkeys in there. But I gotta believe the locals know about it too. So
it's all about how hard they're willing to work for it.
Well, that's the thing, is it's kind of a hard to find spot, but if you know it's there, it's not hard to get to at all.
Yeah.
So.
Nope. So anything else on the turkey front you guys want to talk about? Did you, let's, I guess, talk calls real quick. Yesterday was my first chance to physically run. I only used one diaphragm call yesterday. That's all I use. But seemed like you were trying a little bit of everything yesterday, Jim.
I broke open the Cartel custom calls yesterday, and I'll be honest, I didn't practice at all this year. Not even like I found what I wanted to do was pull out that glass pot call that I was running last year at the end of the season from Perfect. But I pulled that thing out and I went to run the striker across it, and I could tell that everything was smoothed over. It wasn't working. So I foobarred that up, not getting that all tuned up for the season. But so I busted into the Cartels. I got obviously my box call that I normally use. But I just kind of looked at the reeds and just picked one I thought looked good. It was kind of a unique cut. I thought it sounded decent. And then today I tried two of the other ones. One of them was like super raspy, which was nice. Then the other one was pretty high pitch and clean. So that's three of those that I've tried. And I liked all of them. They're all pretty good. You can definitely tell he's got a lot of different designs in his reeds, and it makes a giant difference. I'll be running it the same way, each one of them, and it's a huge difference between each one. So
they all sound a lot different.
And I've found in the past too, like there was one set of birds I fired up and called in. I was literally walking and calling all the way across the North Hill, and it was like we were at the four-wheelers to call it a day at like 11:45, and I was like, let me just try a different call. Just a mouth call, different pitch. I threw out a call, 3 birds gobbled, and they freaking ran straight in, and they were dead at 11:55. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, something might be sitting there listening to you. You might just change the pitch of that call, and all of a sudden it's game on. So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. It's just like me with my fishing gear. I get something on that I like. Like that bird was responding to me yesterday when I was using one of Andy's diaphragm calls, the Bushwacker custom calls. I was using one of them yesterday. And to be honest, I'm not even sure which one I was using. I just grabbed one that had kind of like you said. I like calls that have kind of an aggressive cut or a pretty like a bat wing type style cut. And it may have been the bat wing I was using, but he was responding to me. And it was funny because you and I were both calling there at one point when he was on the ridge to the west of us. And you had been calling for a few minutes with the call you were using, and he had gobbled a bunch at you. And then he kind of wasn't responding a lot to you. And then I started calling and he started responding to me. So it's kind of funny how like you were changing up your calls throughout that hour and a half, 2 hour period. And he would get fired up each time a new call was introduced. And the same, I start calling, the same thing happened. But I had my podcast recorder with me and I was recording the audio of the hunt. And it's some pretty cool audio. I'll have to maybe edit a few of the clips down and post them on here at the end. It just sounds, I love hearing a gobbler rip off in the woods.
I could get him to hit the box call every time. As soon as you pipe that pitch up just a little bit, it tones him off. But and then when you started calling, I just started kind of playing back and forth with you, just soft messing around. But there wasn't nothing we were doing that was bringing him in. So
nope. He was
definitely. I used the same mouth call and the same box call, and depending on how I cut or how I got fired up, he'd answer it. So, but when you threw in your little putts and clucks behind me, he definitely hit those too. So,
yep. You've been working those calls at all that Andy gave you, Danny?
Yeah, I have. I've got them sitting right here at my desk. I don't think I can call worth a shit, but I think they sound pretty good. I've got, what am I did?
You getting better? Remember that one time you and I went hunting at Carlton Hill and you were like, let me call real quick. And you just pulled this thing out. I don't know what the noise was you made, but it wasn't good. I think it was some sort of gobbler call or something, wasn't it?
A big old gobbler call from somebody. Just got this thing sweet. That turned me off a little bit to like public land hunting, I feel like, because maybe we're just in the wrong area, but I just felt like we did not stand a chance in there.
There was that day anyway, we didn't see any turkey sign at all.
You got guys calling on the next ridge over from you, whatever. It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that area is tough because it's super accessible. I've never turkey hunted public land other than there. But it's super accessible to everybody and there's really no hard get to spots. You can pretty much walk wherever very quickly. So the spots that I've found success deer hunting, it kind of drives me to want to try to turkey hunt there just because they're tough places to hunt. That's why I think the deer are there, because it's just not fun to get there. And I wonder, nobody talks about pinch points with turkeys, but I wonder, you get a high pressure day like opening day. What do you think, Jim? If I get in some of those pinch points where those turkeys get flushed into, or do you think they're just going to fly off?
I think you should put together some turkey drives. I think we should try to do.
Why not?
Cover a hill, put some guys at the bottom and at the top and make them fly.
Yeah. I don't think it's an awful idea. How many times have we seen them pitch off from the north hill to the south hill? Yep. If they're there, we got to get them off that hill and onto the other one.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
Something. Turn it into fall turkey hunting. Just go bust them up and then call them back in.
Yeah. I don't think I would want to try that. I don't feel like that's we're not advising anyone to do that. Certainly not while wearing camouflage and paraphernalia. Hi, Lauren. Say hi. You're on a podcast. Oh, she's making cheesecake?
Making cheesecake.
Oh, yeah.
Big win for the day.
Nice.
Big win for the day.
So one other thing that I wanted to touch on quick is we shot our guns yesterday. And I kind of got into the hype with the TSS, and I haven't used a 20 gauge in years, and I wanted to bust it back out. And the only thing that made me do that was the fact that people were talking all this stuff about the TSS and how it makes your, 20 gauge or 410 like a 12 gauge. And I was like, I gotta try it. So put a red dot on, put a choke tube in. And I was shooting number 6 game loads to sight it in. And that pattern was pretty wide. And when we felt like we had it where we wanted it, I threw one of those TSS through. And that thing freaking kicks like a 12 gauge and about rolled the barrel over. And the pattern was pretty amazing. And we did that at 20 and we went to 30 and the pattern did not change at all. So I'm pretty impressed with this stuff and I'm looking forward to busting up some snoods with that thing.
Yeah, the old snood tickler.
Yeah, we're gonna nickname the 20 the old snood tickler.
Yep. Yeah, the juicer's taken by the legend Andrew, Mr. Noble.
Yeah.
So
can't step on his toes.
No. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I shot my gun twice and my shoulder felt like God damn, it just kicks hard. Those turkey loads out of it. I mean, I feel like it kicks harder than a slug. I don't know. It thumps you. But I took a couple shots. I'm in the region, so I'm happy.
You're in the low to the left, let her fly high to the right.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Well, we didn't have tools to adjust, so I'm gonna do that later today. I'm gonna take an Allen wrench and just adjust my sight just to see hair to the left, and I'll be right in the money. So
see, I wouldn't do that at this point without shooting it again. If you know where it's hitting now, don't touch it unless you plan on shooting it again.
Do you really think in the moment that I'm gonna be able to remember to aim high to the left, to the right?
No, there you go.
High to the left
already.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, high to the right, Bill.
Yeah. Just like
you were drunk and he's got a second head off to the right.
Yeah.
High to the right.
It's like Bill Dan, shoot him in the butt. I said that yesterday. That's Bill Dan saying, I'm gonna shoot him in the face or shoot him in the butt. So
yeah, no, your pattern was really good out of your gun too. It was just a little low to the left, but that's manageable.
Yep.
That's why I put the red dot on, because I knew that 20 gauge was high to the right. So
yeah,
if you're gonna have a gun designated for it, you might as well put a sight on it. You can adjust.
Yep. No, I get it. I see the desires there. It's just really fun to see some of these other setups, like you guys, like you and Adam both have the red dots, and I've got just a back peep sight with a front fiber optic. So it's a back peep with a fiber in it and 2 fibers, and then the front. And like, that's a nice sight. I like it. It's just an 870 Express 12 gauge, super full choke. I use that gun to shoot clay pigeons and I just use it for everything. I've been using that gun since Dad gave you and I both, I think, 870s. Right? Did you get an 870 or was it just me that got one?
I got the 20 gauge. That's what.
You got the 20 gauge.
And the thing is, I haven't used it in so long. I'm like, I bought the 12 gauge Winchester 11 or Winchester 1300. That thing is a cannon. I mean, I've never messed with a choke tube or nothing. I just for the first year, I had a electrical tape the sights on because they're a little wobbly. And that worked fine, but I felt like I should upgrade. So I did the same thing as you. I put a fiber optic on that has a oval peep in the rear, and then you center the bead up in the front. And I really like that. And that gun's been great to me. But if you're going to run, a few miles a day turkey hunting or more, that gun gets heavy along with your turkey vest and your camera. And I was like, I got this 20 gauge sitting here not doing anything. And now that we can use rifle for deer, I'm like, do I really want to use a 20 gauge for deer if I can use a rifle and a muzzleloader and whatever else? So I was like, I might just set this thing up and have it be my turkey gun. So
it's about time. Use it. It's not doing you any good sitting in the closet. What do you have, Danny? You have a Mossberg, right?
Yeah, I've got that. It's a 12 gauge semi-auto.
Those follow-up shots are key.
I don't know what it is exactly model-wise, but I've had that thing since I was like 12 or 8 or something. Kind of like what you have. Just use it for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's one gun I can shoulder and aim pretty well in any situation. So
Yeah.
stick with what works, right?
Yep. I think there's good value to that. I really like using the same gun for like everything shotgun wise, because I get really comfortable with it. You know, that gun, I can remember you and I, Jimmy, working at Rochester Brooks Gun Club when we were in high school, and you know, we'd be working the 5-stand, and these guys are shooting, you know, $1,200, $2,000 guns. And you know, they're like, "Oh, you guys want to shoot around?" And we're like, "Yeah." And we would bring our shotguns with us, and they'd be in the hut, and they're like, "Well, use ours." I'm like, "No, we'll use ours." And we're out there, you know, busting, you know, multi-shot, you know, sporting clays, you know, busting those shots with turkey guns, pump turkey guns. Yeah. And I don't know, it just, that's how we learned, and that's what I'm comfortable with. I mean, I think if I was a waterfowler and I goose hunted and all that, like, I'd probably see more value in buying a nicer gun because you're shooting so much more. But that 870, I mean, what's more American than a Remington 870? It's what this country was built on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that 20 gauge I got is beautiful. So that's why I'm like, I hate to have the thing sitting in the gun safe not using it.
Yeah.
So there's that. The 1300 I bought because I didn't have a 12 gauge, and it was a good buy. So I used that for deer and turkey for a while. And then I bought that Benelli Tactical, and that ended up being my deer driving gun this year. So kind of made the 1300 my turkey gun. The Benelli was my deer gun for driving. And then I don't use a shotgun if we're not driving. I either use a rifle or muzzleloader. So, you know, I'm a little bit different than you in the fact that I ended up with a few different shotguns, and I got an 1100 too. I always wanted an 1100 and got one for Christmas a few years back, but that's only chambered in 2 3/4. And I love it for shooting clay pigeons and stuff. And, you know, I've used it for deer drives a few times, and it's fun because you can just let them eat. But that's not really a turkey gun. I'd like to put, you know, a 3-inch shell in a turkey gun, and I have the other gun, so it's like you don't need multiple guns set up for the same thing. So on the shotgun train, I'm kind of all over the place, but when you switch over to rifle and muzzleloader, I'm pretty nailed down on what I like to use.
Yeah. Shout. Well, I don't know what we're running on here, 35 minutes or so, 40 minutes, I'm guessing. I wanted to, you know, being that this is the 100th episode, you know, kind of just get your guys' thoughts on things, you know, where we've come, you know, where we're headed, kind of your thoughts on doing the podcast, and, you know, what some of the benefits have been of doing this. I think there's been a lot of good that's come from it. So I guess, Danny, I'll start with you, kind of get your thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's been a fun journey. It's kind of formed itself into something different, I think, over the years from where we started, which is cool and good. Kind of turned into a platform where, like, for me, you and I have kind of had a similar journey hunting wise, where we weren't as into it through our high school and college days. And like, to me, I never thought it would turn into something where, like, I think about deer all the time. I'm driving in the car and I'm thinking about, like, cool hunting spots that, like, I wish I could get access to on the way to work, or, like, just, I don't know, where would the deer be in that woods? Just different things. Where am I going to hang my cameras in a month? Like, I think about that all the time. So I don't know. I don't know if people realize that about us necessarily. I think they do, but it's kind of been not only a way for us to share, like, our hunting experiences, but also grow, like, ourselves into just better hunters and learn and kind of share our experiences, which I think has been really cool.
Oh, I agree. And I would be interested to get people's feedback on that. You know, I know we probably won't get any because, you know, everybody says that on a podcast, says, I'd love to get feedback on what you want. And it's like, oh, I enjoyed your episode, I'm going to move on to the next thing. But I would be interested to see what people think about that, because I think all of us every day have continued to grow. And I've watched you. I feel like you've become a pretty efficient hunter, Danny. You know, you necessarily don't put the time in during the season because you've had pretty good success. And even when you don't, like, you're a very analytical person. So I feel like when you actually feel like the time is right for you to invest the time into going out, you are very quick to capitalize. You know, the buck you shot in 2019, that was like, we had the trip to Colorado, you had the injury, you were pretty much on the IR for a period. And then all of a sudden, here you go. The first time you're able to go out, you shoot a buck first morning within an hour and a half. And then the same thing this year in 2020, you were zoned in. Your goal was to shoot an early season buck in archery, and you did it within the first 5 days of the season. You know, so like, I think all of us have different goals hunting wise. I don't think you're of the vein that Jimmy and I are, where it's like, you know, we're competing with each other and trying to fill our freezers. So we've got 6+ deer in the freezer to eat throughout the year. That's not you. Like, your hunting is a different journey than ours, I guess, or a different goal in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, I love our trips too. It's not like I feel like I'm putting in a decent amount of time just hunting, which feels good. I don't, like you said, during our deer seasons lately, I haven't really put in a ton more time, but like, that's kind of all evolving for me. I just shot one deer last year, and I'm pretty disappointed that I'm starting to run out of meat now. So I've kind of always been like a 1-2 deer type of person. I don't need more meat than that, and I don't want to. I don't have a ton of people that I know necessarily that want it. So that's kind of just always been my attitude about it. Is if I'm only going to shoot one deer during the season, I'm not going to go out and shoot a doe the second week of bow season, and then whatever, feel weird about shooting another deer later in the year or whatever. I just hold out. I've kind of always held out for bucks, and it's kind of my thought process. And later in the year, if I need to shoot a doe, I can hopefully get one on the ground. So I don't know. I've gotten really lucky the past 3 years.
Luck's a huge factor. If any of us are going to sit here and pretend that luck isn't a factor in what we do as hunters, it's a huge piece. You try to put as much in your favor as you can, but at the end of the day, you're depending on something that is living its life and trying to survive doing what you need it to do. But, you know, that's like, as we talk about like the journey of Pert Near Outdoors and what this last, you know, we started this in, I think, what was it, the fall of 2018, hunting season in 2018. You know, you and I, Danny, got to be friends back in 2012, and like, you and I, you've basically been my hunting buddy. You know, like, that's where our journey has been, and you're a great one for it because you're pretty easygoing. You don't, you know, you and I hunt well together because you don't try to. Everybody knows, and I'm sure everybody listening to this can understand that I'm clearly I'm the one with the ideas, and I'm the one that says this is what we're going to do. And you're a great hunting buddy because you go along with a lot of my stuff and don't say boo until we're on a 12-mile death march through the bush. And you're like, I absolutely hate you, and you're an asshole for sending us into this situation. But like, we've had a lot of good memories over the last, especially since our first trip to Colorado in 2017. Since then, we've done a lot of these adventure style hunts, you know, backpacking and adventuring into some different areas. And we've had some awesome experiences together. So it's been a lot of fun, you know, doing that. And I look forward to the future years to come, you know, and doing more with the podcast and with the platform, you know, just to share those adventures that we get to have together.
Yeah, we talk about a lot. I wish we could do 5 trips a year, but we know we can't. So we'll just keep talking about them, and maybe one day we'll do some of them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more fun to talk about them than it is to actually do them.
Great fun talking about it all.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in that tough zone right now. We've got young kids. I've got one upstairs that's screaming. I can hear him through my earphones right now, and I'm just ignoring it. But we're in that period, and you're about to enter it, and it's just a stage, and we'll get through it. We'll come out the other side with some more hunting buddies. Is what's going to happen. Jim, what are your thoughts?
I think it's been an interesting journey. I mean, the podcast is really your thing. I mean, I've done some stuff with Breeding 'em Radio and some turkey stuff and, helping you out during deer season, but ultimately in the end of it, it's pretty much your thing. And how you keep up with it and keep it moving along is pretty impressive, because even when you ask for help, it's like, I don't know how the hell you're fitting this in. So wife's vacuuming upstairs. I think that means time's up. But
oh Jesus.
No, it's a interesting journey that you've been on here, and it's been fun when I can chime along in with it. And I think I'm a little bit different than you guys in the fact that I've done this my whole life. This has kind of been hunting over sports, all the way along. And a lot of times when I'm out in the woods, I don't really give a shit about social media, and I don't really take pictures. I'm just enjoying the moment. So at the end of the day, I don't always have the content for it, but doesn't mean I'm not out there and enjoying it and doing my thing. So, every once in a while I step back and I've kind of fallen out of listening to hunting podcasts. I got just a few that I listen to. I used to listen to a ton of them, but it's just kind of one of those things. I listen to ours and I listen to two other ones, and I just enjoy more just going and living it. And I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people are getting to that point, and I don't know how we're doing with followers or whatever, because I don't see any of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you just got to be out there doing it, and it doesn't really matter what's going on social media as much as, go out and enjoy it and get away from social media and do some other stuff. And that's my time to escape. So like today, I was like, I'm going to do a story and keep everything up to date. And I got done with a hunt, and I was like, well, I took a picture of my car stereo when I pulled into the parking lot, and I took a picture of them sitting there on a setup on the edge of a field, and that was it. So
yeah,
I don't know. I have a hard time getting into it, and shed hunting. I'll be out with the guys shed hunting, and it's just like, I'm just not worried about the phone and taking pictures and doing whatever. So,
yeah,
this journey has been interesting in the fact that you've really kept it rolling as far as the podcast stuff. And I think all of our different styles add a little bit to it, which makes it fun. So,
yeah. And I think that's an interesting observation, and you talking about how like you, and I think Danny's the same way. Like Danny, I know you love taking pictures, but how many times have I been like, well, did you take any good pictures? Like we'll go on like the trip we took to Colorado. It's like, oh, I took a few, but I really didn't even have my phone out. And I laugh, and I've had this discussion with Brian and Dallas too, because so many times they look at me and they're like, Billy, put your phone away. I'm taking pictures and videos of everything. But at the end of the trip, I'm the one person that has several hundred pictures on my cell phone capturing the hunt. And now we can look back at it years and years down the road and just reflect on the trip. And so that's just me. Like I've always been the picture guy. We go back to college, I was the guy with the freaking, the Sony cool picture camera, whatever. Like I was just snapping pictures of everything. I have catalogs of pictures from college and parties and just being just life. So I find it interesting that from our dynamic, we've all kind of have different approaches to things. And I'm glad that I'm a bit of a over the top on collecting all these pictures and taking video and doing the podcast and everything. Cause I think we'll in the long run, we'll all enjoy this content that we're putting together to be able to go back and, share these memories and remember all these different things that we did.
Yeah. I mean, some of the people you've had on are just very interesting characters, and, stuff that, you might read a magazine or, see somebody else on social media or whatever, and being able to hook up with them and have a conversation and put it out to kind of have our own flavor on it. That's been pretty cool. Some stuff that you've been able to reach out to people and just a lot of different characters on. And I think that aspect of it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's been one of the biggest takeaways for me, like me reflecting on, this being the 100th episode and what the last 2 years ish of doing this platform have been for us. It's meeting people, you put people on a pedestal, and like you see somebody who's got a shit pile of followers, or they're famous in the industry, or they just seem like they're maybe in a league of their own, different than you. Almost 9 times out of 10, you get to engage. Once you finally get the chance to talk to them and engage with them, they're no different than you and I. And if they are any different than you and I, it's not really somebody that I have any interest in getting to know. And that's probably been one of the greatest things from this last, year and a half of doing this podcast, is just meeting some of the people that we have and making the connections that we have and trying to help, whether it's to help move companies forward, that we've started to do some work with, or started using their products and connected with the people who are behind the business, or if it's, just other hunters, trying to help them or help them promote them, or even getting into the conservation type stuff with the different organizations that we have over the last few years. I mean, coming out of the pandemic, the fundraiser we did for NWTF, that was the first time we'd ever done a fundraiser, and we raised over $1,000, with just a simple turkey contest. And, we've continued to kind of find our way. And, a lot of this stuff, like Jimmy and I, you and I talked about this, that a lot of these things from us, they just are like last minute ideas. And then we're trying to throw shit together, and it's like half cobbed, and people don't know about it, or like stacking things on top of each other. So we're learning as we go. It's been a lot of fun, and it's incredible, the interaction and the generosity that we've gotten from people to help support these organizations or ourselves. But we, as we move forward, got to do a better job of, forecasting these things and not having, stuff stack on top of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I got a split, so I'm glad we were able to hop on here a little bit and catch up. Danny boy, it was nice talking to you.
Always good to see you, Jimbo. Glad you did your hair for this podcast.
Yeah,
It's 4:00 in the morning hunting here, so
you were Fabioing it pretty hard over there.
You boys go shoot some turkeys in the face next weekend. All right.
All right. We'll give
Good luck, everybody.
We'll give
plan.
See ya.
See you, Jim. You got a couple minutes, Danny? You got time?
The whole afternoon.
All right. Actually, let's hold on 1 second. Let me just ask Sarah if everything's good upstairs, because Kate's been crying for like 25 minutes. So let me just go double check on that. I'll be right back.
Headphones in.
I'm back. The game is still on. We're good. Yeah, Kate's I think we're at that point where I think Kate is starting to transition to 1 nap a day, which is not a fun time, because you're very used to that schedule of her sleeping for 5 hours out of the day. And now it's transitioning to just maybe 1 nap, which would be all right, but the transition's not that much fun. So Sarah said that she found two of her socks in the toilet. Kate threw 2 socks in the toilet, and we're still not sure where her bottle went. So she's not even a year old yet, and she is a woman on a mission. She is a piece of work. Chip off the old block, I guess I would say.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm going to have to deal with here in a year.
Yep. Little Miss Zaylor.
Yeah.
You got a name picked out? Are you going to save it? It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, just we learned a lesson quick that I was a big no on sharing names for a few reasons, and we shared a couple thoughts that we had when we were at like a family gathering, and we got a reaction from someone that was not a good reaction when we said one of the names. And it was like, well, we're definitely not sharing any names with anybody anymore now that we saw that happen, because it's just like
everybody has their opinion and they try to push it upon you. Yeah. And that's what we went through, especially with Billy, because, like my family tradition is that the firstborn boy is like my dad, it was obviously going to be Billy. So you're just getting pressure. Are you going to do Billy? You know, we have had a whole middle name thing. We didn't go with that with Billy. We went with Daniel being my father-in-law's name, but you do what you want to do. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of being an adult, is that you can make those decisions.
I like the family tradition of names. I think there's something to be said about that. So that's in the back of our minds for different things, but yeah.
So what I kind of wanted to close out the discussion with you on is I think I'm interested to see where this all goes and what we do with it. I know you and I have had many long discussions about, you know, more that we would like to do or things we'd like to tweak, especially with the website. You know, right now the website is a landing page. We have the podcast on there. We do have a store with a few things. But we do have, you know, through this last couple of years, we've established an affiliate program with a lot of different companies. And we've talked about trying to do something to try to drive more of that affiliate stuff through our website so that we could, you know, maybe build gear lists and people could see what we're using, stuff like that. Like there's just a lot of things I feel like we could do with our website, that our website's just kind of like there, and we're paying for a web service every month and we're paying for a podcast service every month. But it's like, what's the true value? Like, what are we bringing to people? So I think that's, like, you and I especially, you know, we have these conversations about, like, you know, what's the value of why we're doing this. And, you know, I continue to, like, ask myself that, not that I want to stop doing this, what we're doing, but like, I want to try to find a way for it to be, you know, that was like one of your goals a year ago, was like finding balance between life and between personal life, work, and what we're doing with Pert Near Outdoors. And it's a challenge. Like, I feel this drive every month or every week to put an episode out, because that's the expectation we've created. But, you know, there's going to be weeks, there's going to be times, there has been that time where it's like, man, we got to get something recorded. I got to get something done. And it's like, I'm just putting an episode out to put an episode out. And I don't feel like we've had any episodes, honestly, where we've just like mailed it in. But I do want to continue. Like, I see that there is value for what we're doing, but finding a way to reach new people, finding a way to make sure that the content is valuable and not just another episode that's dropping each week. Like,
yeah,
I'm personally challenged with that, because I'm getting more and more strapped with time, and I don't want to waste my time, but I know that what we're doing can and is making a difference. If it isn't only with a handful of people, you know, all joking aside, you know, we're averaging a little over 100 downloads a month on this. And
episode.
Yeah. 100 an episode, you know,
Per
we're
episode.
around like 1,000 to 1,500 a month. Because a lot of times I'm seeing we're getting at new people, and then they're going back and listening to older episodes. So like, it's continued to grow. That's been positive. But, you know, I just don't want to keep pissing in the wind, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I want to make sure that what we're doing is of value, and that at some point it would be nice to like make a little income to cover our expenses, at least. You know, we joke about it being a net loss, but
not make income, not stop, get it to a point where we're not dropping all of our own money on it.
Right.
Is more of what you're getting at, is that it costs us money to do everything that we're doing, which is fine. We've made those choices. We're not crying about it. Just at some point, we can maybe do a little more or something different, and maybe turn it into something.
Yeah, because when you really look at the space, there's a ton of hunting podcasts. There's a ton of Instagram and Facebook groups, stuff like that. But there isn't a ton of, in our area, there's not a ton of local based people that are trying to help other local based people figure out how to find success, or to get into it, or to educate, that sort of thing. You know, so it is the community base. It is the regional type of approach, we have people that are listening in other parts of the country and other, I don't know if I trust, seeing that we have downloads in other countries. That doesn't make shit for sense to me. But, if somebody wants to listen to us from another country, that's great. But we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep, we're going to keep getting better. Like, that's the drive for me, is I want to keep making the podcast better. I want to find better ways to bring entertaining content. But I guess it's more of just throwing it out there. Like, my mind's turning about, like, what can we do that can be different, and value adding to people in their daily lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's you get a double-edged sword, right? With the podcast, you're doing one a week, so you're getting more people on. So maybe if you didn't do one every week, you might not hit those spikes where you get a couple hundred downloads instead of 100, and you might never reach those people if you hadn't done that one specific podcast and you reined it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But is one a week diminishing returns just because you're trying to put them out so much? I don't know. Something that just crossed my mind is that, like, what the group of hunters that, like, we initially maybe tried to seek out are kind of your beginners, like your people kind of that were in the same spot as we were maybe 4 years ago or 8 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And, like, just try to get more people involved in the sport. And, like, personally, I've been really seeking out the, like, deep dive analytics into, like, hunting more lately. Not necessarily analytics, but just hunting beast podcasts, maybe, where they're doing deep dives into, like, how they hunt specific areas or specific deer or reading terrain and, like, different things like that. And, like, I don't know, are those things that we haven't really done yet that would hit that audience of people that do listen to our podcast?
No, it's a good point. We really haven't. We haven't done, like, focus. That's one of our weaknesses for sure, is that a lot of our podcasts end up being, I'll steal this from something that Jesse Coots got for feedback with his podcast. Like, and we haven't gotten this feedback, but we certainly are guilty of it, is that we're an inch deep and a mile wide, because, I try to have these discussions that are super, they're very open, and we just go down all these different paths. But the hunting space is a very, like, focused niche group. So, like, my mindset and what I've been doing over the first 100 episodes is I'm meeting a lot of people, and I'm kind of, like, pick and choosing who I really want to have on here. And typically those decisions are made because they're people that I feel like we align well with. We have a lot in common. They maybe come from a different area, or they can bring something of value to the listeners, and somebody I ultimately want to get to know because I like what they're about. And a lot of times those first initial episodes are just, like, wide open because we're just getting to know the individual. So hopefully, like, the second time around, the podcasts get to be a little bit more, like, fine-tuned, in depth. What are we talking about? What's been up this season? Stuff like that. But still, it's, I think that's a great point that you bring up, is, we do very specific type of hunts, and we've had success on certain type of hunts. And some of the stuff I love listening to is, like, listening to somebody recap and break down why they had success on a certain hunt. And it doesn't have to be a 2-hour long podcast. It could be 30 minutes, 35 minutes, where you're reviewing a hunt that you had and what happened. And you don't have to make it more than that. It can just be that. So, yeah, it's good.
And specifics, like, one I've got now, I mentioned Hunting Beast before, but it was that Joe Rentmeester, however you say his name. It's from, like, 2019. And the host was doing a really good job. I think it's Mario or somebody that hosts that podcast. He was really grilling him on the very specific parts of his hunt instead of letting the story go on. Because like as the hunter, you might gloss over so many different things that you thought about, or you don't even realize you thought about before killing an animal, or like getting into that specific tree stand. And like everybody would probably learn something from the step-by-step things that happened from 2 years ago when you first started thinking about hunting that spot until this fall when you actually killed a buck in that spot.
Yeah, that's very interesting perspective, Danny. We both have had hunts that we could, speak directly to those sort of things. So yeah, we'll have to keep that in mind. I think that would be valuable to break some of that stuff down.
Yeah, and this is me personally. Like, these are things that right now I'm seeking out and trying to learn. And just a specific example of something that I was just listening to that was pretty informative for me, where I think a listener to our podcast might take something away from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I had, ironically, today, Sunday, the 25th of April, I watched a video this morning on YouTube that popped up on my YouTube suggested that was a catchy title, which obviously that works. It was a Randy Newberg video, and it said "The End of Randy Newberg Hunter" with a question mark. And of course it worked. It drew me in, and I watched his video. And he was talking about kind of where he's at in his business and in his platform. And it was really fascinating to listen to him talk about the scenario he's in. He started all of his different stuff. He started doing what he's doing now, videotaping. I think it was like 2008, he said. And the journey he went on, and now how many different platforms he's on and company names and brands that he has. It's really fascinating to understand where he is coming, his journey of it. And I was thinking about it as it relates to us, because I think branding is an issue that we have personally. And you and I have talked about this, Pert Near Outdoors, have people look at it and like, what the shit is that? Like we came up with that while you and I were talking on the phone in a whim. This wasn't something that was thought out. It was on a whim. We did it. We stuck with it. The podcast name, Log Talk with Pert Near Outdoors, that is something that came from a fishing trip, a trout fishing trip, a picture we had where we were sitting on logs. Like, that's where this came from. So if we're, understanding, I would suggest that you and anybody else goes and watches that video that Randy put out, because it just kind of, if you're in anybody that's in any sort of business, or you're trying to market yourself or what you're doing, you got to understand the way that analytics work, the way that, trends, Google trends work. And that's something I want to do some research on. And I don't know is that necessarily it's us changing who we are or the names of what we are, but like figuring out how to market it, because we are reaching a very, very consistent number of people, but we're not getting over that hump. We're not breaking that into the next. Now, you and I have said this, there's never been more content out there than there is now. Like, there's so many, just over the last year, the number of podcasts, YouTube channels, Instagram pages, like the number of people that are putting out content is outrageous. There still is only a few of us in our state doing a podcast. And I look at a state like Michigan or Pennsylvania that are comparable with the hunting tradition that we have here. There is a ton of hunters, and there's not a lot of people doing what we're doing. So it's like, what do we have to do to reach these people? Because whether people like our content or not, I would feel like we'd at least all of a sudden get like a bump or a jump in the content that's out there. Because if somebody wants to listen to about deer hunting, listening to stuff from Iowa every day doesn't regurgitate with deer hunting stuff here in New York. So it's like, I think so much of what I took from that video with Randy this morning spoke to me on understanding the way that the way that the new age business works. And sometimes having single brands or multiple brands can benefit you or hurt you if it doesn't continue to draw you back to the core of what you are and what you do and what your ultimate why was when you started what you were doing, you know. And we started this because we wanted to share our adventures off of our personal pages. You know, we didn't have like a mission of educating new hunters or being a community of people. We didn't have that. We weren't really into conservation at that point. It wasn't until we got going with the page that we were like, wow, this is stuff that really we are passionate about and we care about.
Yeah.
So we've changed over the last 2.5, 3 years. And I guess we have to be open to continuing to change, to find ways to be more relevant and to reach more people.
When you first brought it up, I thought about just evolution and the evolution of a company and a business and whatnot. And like, it just, you can't stay the same thing you started as. You have to evolve with the times and just keep thinking of whatever new ideas or what might help you or hurt you down the road. And I feel like we've kind of made a decision not to necessarily latch on with any brands specifically. And I don't know if Randy touched on that at all or not, but like, I guess in a certain aspect, maybe if 2 years ago, all three of us were like, same brands, like we all like this one thing, like, yeah, sure, maybe we'd be like ambassadors for more brands or something, but like, I don't know.
For sure. Dude, you're 100% accurate on that statement, because, and that's something that we haven't done. And I've watched people that have started all around us over the last couple of years, and they've just exploded. And a lot of they're very good at marketing themselves, and they're very good at, they've partnered with some great companies, and I don't fault them for it. What other people are doing that's awesome. And when I see other people have success, it's great. At the end of the day, it comes back to, and this is the second thing I listened to today. I kind of started this soapbox talk about two things I listened to this morning. The other one was Ben Shapiro had a discussion with Dave Portnoy this morning. It was his Sunday podcast he puts out where he has like a set down that's not a political discussion or anything. It's just like an interesting person out in the limelight, what's going on with their lives and how they get to where they are, sort of story time type deal.
10 people just stopped listening to this podcast. You just said those names.
That's fine. The thing that Portnoy brought up, Portnoy talked about the history of his business, and he started, and I don't know if you know the history of his business, but he started hustling. He had a paper that was a very specific paper that was about sports gambling and fantasy sports. And he started doing that, and it was hand delivered to people on the subways and stuff like he was hustling, and his stuff didn't take off until he one person that was a reader of his paper ended up moving to New York City. And the only way that Dave was distributing it was via printed copy to individuals. So here we are now. That was a loud smash upstairs. I don't know what the hell that was.
I didn't hear it.
Mighty. It sounds like complete chaos upstairs right now. But what Dave talked about, and he's been at this since like 04, 05-ish, somewhere in there. Obviously his businesses have grown, developed. He's got offshoots of what he does. He's got, I didn't realize it, but they have like 40 something podcasts on their platform. Like, it's huge. But he has never, the one thing that you just brought up, that he has never tied himself to any company, to anything. It's been about them and about who they are and their brand and the community that they've developed. They haven't lost focus of that. And, we are starting to engage with companies that we have trust in, we have respect with, we enjoy using their products. We've started to engage with them, but there's nothing contractual back and forth. And I'm as much as I'm interested in that sort of stuff, because it would help us start making some money and start covering some of our overhead. It's also, as soon as you do that, you start losing control of your content. because you can't say what you want to say. You can't do what you want to do. And that's what Portnoy has been very focused on, is that the minute you start giving somebody say in what you do, it's no longer yours. It's theirs as well,
2 years ago, if we were latched on to a brand, it would have been the biggest joke of, I mean, whatever, cool. We could have latched on with Dream Big Under Armour or something when like you were big into Under Armour, let's say, just using an example, and like, cool, like, but we honestly would have had nothing to base off of joining that company, or no reason to. And I think just thinking about it now, we're all hunting more, we're all doing more in the outdoors. We at least are getting to a point where there are brands that we like to use and people that we like to work with. And I think that's part of it, is just building a relationship with good people in the industry that aren't, whatever you want to call them, sellouts, pumping it for the wrong reason, like just all that. Like I think the Portnoy evolution of his business isn't the worst business model in the world when it comes down to kind of how we're evolving this.
Yeah. And I think we just keep going with it. It's, at the end of the day, it's a hobby. We're not making money. We're literally not making money at this. It's something that if nothing else, it keeps me connected with my best friends, because we're all so damn busy that if it wasn't for Pert Near Outdoors, it wasn't for the podcast, I'd have a hard time I would have no reason, honestly, to keep up with a lot of people. And, I've made so many good friends that if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't have I'd have no interaction with these folks. You know what I mean? It's like, it just gives you purpose. It gives you reason. It gives you, and then you add into it, the things that we've been doing with, the fundraising for Venison Donation Coalition. And, we've definitely found a focus in ourselves of try to help people and help organizations, help conservation. Like, that's stuff that we've definitely honed in on. And, that's our focus, So I think we stick with that, and we find other companies that align with those things. I'm not going to say never is never, but we definitely help try to raise the people around us and make it all better. And I have no, you talked about people that are hooking onto companies and doing different things. Like, that's stuff that definitely has frustrated me. Like, it has been something that will get me and you on the phone, and I'll be venting about certain things. It's like, at the end of the day, go make your money. I sell a product for a living. I sell vehicles, and yes, I love my vehicle that I sell. I believe in it, but I could very easily tomorrow, and I've done this, I could switch to another company and I start, trying to sell that product. It's like, so in that breath, everybody's got to make a living, and you can't hate on others. If you're doing that, you're just taking away from the efforts of what you could be putting in to help move things forward and help support people and support industry to grow. The outdoor community is a very small community. And if we're not all pulling in the right direction, police your own. We've talked about that. That's been a theme over the first 100 episodes is, if there's shitheads out there that are posting bad pictures, call them out, tell them stop, send them a direct message and say, hey man, do you realize what you're posting is a very bad look for hunters? Don't try to settle that on a Facebook forum, but reach out directly to them,
Yeah, it's been so fun just kind of building on the point you're saying, the new faces we've met. And we obviously say we're always short on time for different things. And I mean, I wish we could go to a bow shoot every weekend and hang out with you guys or have some beers or whatever. And like, it doesn't happen, but it's always awesome to see messages come in from people having fun doing something and want to share it, or just like, I don't know. I was at Target today, and I think Aaron Lehman saw the Pert Near sticker on the back of my truck. He pulled up right next to me in the parking lot. Hey, what's going on?
That's
Getting
awesome.
ready for turkey season. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. It's like,
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It is what it's all about. Building the community, man. And like getting to meet people like Jim DiAgostino out of PA, like now, like him and I are on a bi-weekly, hour and a half long conversation on the phone, got a group text going with him and Jeremy from Antler Up. Like we're friends now, like, and we're going to meet up at TAC, and we've got a whole group of us that are going together, and we're going to have a great weekend, and we're going to grill out and hang out. We only got one shooting slot, and we're there for 2.5 days. Like we're just going to hang out with our friends. And that's what this is all about. When we pack this life in and we go to whatever it is after this time that we have on this earth, it's the friends and the memories and the experiences that you have, and whether you were able to make a difference in that community that you associate yourself with, that's what matters. And so much of this world now is tied up into artificial things, and I'm finding myself wanting to be in more real situations and taking in, like we're over at the farm yesterday planting trees, and it's like there's 7 kids here, and the youngest one isn't even a year old. Kate's strapped to my chest. We're out there planting trees, and the kids are eating snacks and hanging all over our side by sides and getting mud all over everything. And it's like, this is life, man. Like we're living it. And I can't wait for you to bring the baby into this world, because your life and your perspective on everything will change. That it's not just about Danny and Lauren anymore. It's about raising that family and, whatever the future has for your kid. So it's definitely, we started this podcast pre-kids. Well, no, Billy was a year old, but I was a little bit ahead of you and Jimmy, but it's like we started all this in 2018, really, before anything was anything. We didn't really have a grasp of life. We thought we knew it all, but we don't. And here we are, 3 years later, and got much clearer vision on things. So it's we're trying to figure it out every day. It's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I can't say I got a clear vision on things, but feel pretty good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Family and friends. That's
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Being a good person.
That's it. Did you have anything else you wanted to, just topics or discussion points or anything?
No, not really.
Okay.
Nothing specific for our 100th episode, I would say.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to have a Pert Near business meeting soon. We'll have
okay.
I think you, Jimmy, and I should try to get back on track. We were doing those consistent monthly meetings, just to make sure we were all on track with what each person was trying to do. And it's been a while since we've done anything like that. So I think
monthly might be pushing it, but like
quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly. Maybe. Right.
And then if there's any need for anything sooner, we could, call an emergency conference or something.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Hopefully, oh my God, I gotta get my nursery done upstairs, and I'll feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah. Don't worry. They'll just tear it apart and destroy it. So don't spend too much time on it, because they'll be pooping the carpet and freaking piss on the walls. It'll be fine.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Do not tell me that.
Yeah. All right. So as we close out episode 100, I was going to start the episode with this, but it just didn't flow into it. So I want to highlight, we've talked about some of those companies that we've started working with. I want to just kind of highlight the 2 in particular. Well, 3, I guess, but 2 in particular that we do have discount codes for, and that we do believe in their product, and we're all using it. And number 1 is Basemap. That's a mobile GPS mapping app. That's a mouthful, that we started using. I started using it a year ago, almost 2 years ago. I had the free version, and I didn't pull the trigger because I had Onyx is brilliant with their marketing, and I kept getting all these, extended free, 1 year. Like I'd buy a raffle ticket somewhere, and I'd get a 1 year subscription to Onyx. And so I finally last year was up on my subscription there, and I started using Basemap, and I've been using it right along, and they've continued to to grow that app and the functionality of it, and some of the features I have really just fallen in love with. You know, the different mapping layers are probably the biggest thing for me. Being able to see different aerial photos and have different, you know, different topo maps, things like that. Like I'm a mapping guy. I love looking at different like images of an area. So base map's been a big one, and we're going to continue. I've gotten to know Ed Gramza over there. He's a super nice guy, type of person you just pick up the phone and call him. And I genuinely appreciate, you know, getting to know him and the friendship him and I have developed over the last year. And so he's helping support us and, you know, giving our listeners a discount code. So anybody that is interested in base map, if you don't have any GPS mapping app on your phone, and you do love the outdoors or just want to know who owns what property, even if you're a fisherman, there's a lot of good data on there for fishing. So I definitely encourage people to go check that app out. You can get it on Apple or Android, but you buy the subscription online. So go to basemap.com. And if you use PertNear20 for the promo code, you get 20% off a 1-year subscription. And that's a screaming deal because you'll get all access to all content, every state in the union, all the map layers, everything with that discount code, you'll be around $25. So that's a pretty good deal. So check that out.
Yeah, that's all properties, all states, all layers. That's everything that the app has to offer.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Yep. And I had a conversation with Ed, I think it was Monday afternoon, and he informed me that there's some pretty awesome updates coming down the pipe from them that are going to be revolutionary to the industry. I was hoping you were
going to say that.
Yeah. So he would not show his hand, but your boy Slicky here might be one of the beta testers. So I'm excited about that opportunity. And so keep your eyes peeled. I think he said sometime in May. They're going to have a couple different releases, one in May, maybe one a little bit later in the spring or /summer. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But check that out. It's a great platform, a great app, and it'll help you find more success when it comes time to hit the woods for sure. That e-scouting is a legit thing. Next would be Genesis 3D printing. You know, we jumped on board. You and I did that podcast with Austin probably last March-ish, somewhere in there, February, March. Yeah. And Austin was like, I joke with him because now I'm on the field staff, and I joke with him that Pert Near Outdoors is part of the reason why his company has exploded and grown, which obviously is not the truth. But we were the first podcast that Austin ever did. And I listened back to it the other day, and it's pretty cool because I've gotten to know him a bit now, and he's doing some awesome things. He's a really smart individual, and he's created some pretty awesome and unique products, revolutionary. I don't know if that's a good term for that or not. I think it is, because he's making mobile hunting. He's just like very quickly creating products that even for brand new, whether it be climbing sticks or platforms, different rope tethering, you know, taming, different products. Like he's coming up with this stuff like on a whim. And being on the field staff, you know, we're using this Marco Polo app to, you know, kind of basically have like a video texting conversation with the group, and somebody comes up with an idea and he thinks it's a good one. Like he's literally putting that into production and printing it within 48 hours. And it's like mind boggling how quickly he's able to just do that. But if you haven't heard of Genesis 3D printing and you are into any sort of tree stand hunting, even if it's only hunting out of a tree stand, I definitely would encourage you to head over and check out some of the products he has. And he's got a lot of cool stuff coming that's not going to be just tree stand specific, but stuff that you could use in other avenues of hunting, and just really creative, cool stuff. So we do have a promo code with him as well to save you 10%. And that's just promo code PERTNEAR. They'll give you 10% off. Last two things, Danny, on the business end of things. We've got the Bushwacker custom calls on the website. Andy and I have started working together. I've got slate calls, both slate and crystal pot calls, and a myriad. There's 5 different diaphragm calls. So if anybody wants to get some turkey calls, I'll be shipping them out. I bought inventory from Andy, so I have them here at the house. So if anybody wants them, you can go on there. And if you're a listener of the podcast and you are shopping on our website, you can use Pertneer10, which will give you 10% off the any order you place on PertneerOutdoors.com. And we're going to work on hats. We're going to work on shirts. We're going to get some of that stuff coming down the pipe here this summer. But first things first on the turkey calls. And lastly, the raffle. This is going to post on Monday, and we're going to do a live drawing of the NWTF fundraiser raffle that we're doing. So this is the last chance at that. If you're listening to this Monday during the day, jump onto the website and purchase your raffle tickets. We got some great prizes, and I think there's 15 different prizes, and we'll just be randomly drawing the winners to that, and we'll do that live on Facebook at 8:30 at night. So that's that. And anything else you got in closing, Mr. Danny Boy?
No, that was a good close.
Thanks. My mouth's dry. I need
You
a beer.
empty? You empty over there?
Yeah.
Down to my last sip or two.
Yep. I appreciate the snot out of everybody who's listened to this episode as well as any of the prior ones you've listened to. It's been an awesome ride. We'll continue to keep this thing going, and we wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't for the people out there that are listening, the relationships we built. You keep us all motivated every week. And Danny Boy, I appreciate your support in the background and everything you do to help Pertneer Outdoors keep rolling.
Yep.
Thanks for being my friend.
Hopefully we can do some more hunting this fall. Team Pertneer hunting.
Pertneer. Feed them. All right. Let's wrap her up. Thanks, buddy. Have a good rest of your evening. I got 2 beers in me and sounds like the kids stopped crying. So it's going to be a good rest of the afternoon.
Sounds good to me. I got a lawnmower to put on.
Nice. All right, Danny. See you, boy.
Fade 'em.
Later. Fade 'em. Thanks for listening, people. Go Bills.
Bills.